Is it visible now, the word sheet or document?
Yes, Jay.
Okay. Um, so lately yesterday in second half of class, we have also discussed about this currencies, introduction to currencies, why currency is required in business normally, and as well what are the different types of currencies we have or the dual currency concept in dynamics. We have also discussed it with few examples. So accounting currency, reporting currency, and lately I explained about triangulation currency as well. In these topics about in the ledger calendar as well as in the currencies, does anybody have any doubts until here? So I have one point to say actually. Guys, do not feel hesitated to ask any doubts in front of people in class. And if you want to switch the language, you can always switch the language to Telugu and you can ask doubts. And I can even switch my language to Telugu and explain you in that. And whenever I ask you any question in the class, so try to respond. If you don't know, also even say that that's okay. Don't feel humiliated that you don't know the answer. Okay, it's a learning phase always. You will be learning, or once you keep practicing, you will learn it better. Because somebody will respond, or if nobody responds, also that's okay. But do not feel humiliated or do not feel shy in class. Hope you understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Then let me get back to the topics that we were discussing. So it's accounting, reporting, and triangulation currency. We discussed these three parts. Today, let us see in practical how the currency mechanism
JP,
works in
you asked me to
dynamics.
remember about notes.
Remind me at the end of the class, please.
Okay.
Okay. So Sairam want some material or some theoretical subject to read about these topics. I'll show you how, or I'll guide you how you can find out theoretical topics in web, as well as I have some material I'll share with you one by one. I mean topic by topic lately. So coming to the topic. So I was saying that we will understand today the mechanism of currencies in dynamics and how currencies will be configured as well as function in dynamics. So in order to understand the functioning, we have to create few transactions and see that we will do after some 3-4 classes once we configure the early setups that are required for posting transactions. But today we'll see how to configure currencies as well as the exchange rates between currencies and how to import the currencies. If time permits, we can also discuss that topic, how to import the currency exchange rates. All right. So to check on currencies, I'm changing back to my legal entity MRF. It's a global page actually. You can go through any legal entity. You'll go to the same page. So anyway, I'll change my legal entity to MRF here. So to go to currencies, I'll go to general ledger. It will be in general ledger only. So in general ledger, we have menu called currencies here before calendars menu. General ledger, currencies. And within currencies, we have again currencies. You can see here. And we have other menus as well, exchange rates, types, exchange rates. We'll see them one by one. First, let us see about currencies here. So general ledger, currencies and currencies. Clicking on currencies. Here I can see currencies arranged on alphabetical order. So starting from AED, which is UAE dirham, then Afghani currency, then one by one I see all the currencies are here with the currency codes that are arranged in alphabetical order. So mostly in dynamics, you don't have to create any currency. I'll tell you when you have to create a currency, but you don't have to create any currency. All the currencies that were prominent around the world will be available in dynamics here. See, all of them are available mostly. So every currency here will have some kind of rules here. So some few menus we have. We will discuss these menus also one by one. But see, I mean to say that you don't have to create any currency. So if you want to go for INR, you can just search INR here. Why it's not showing up? Let me search for it like this. Generally, the filters do work properly. So I have INR. Here, Indian rupees here. So if I want to go for US dollar, I can scroll it down until U, and I can see US dollar somewhere. So here it is US dollar. And I have Canadian dollar, Australian dollar. Mostly every country's currency will be here. If at all few countries have, multiple currencies, so you can also see them here. So in India, we only have one currency, right? We only have rupee. In US, they only have dollar. In Canada, also they only have dollar. In Australia, also they only have dollar. There were certain countries where they have two, three different currencies. So in that case, you could have. Those are also available here in this, as I mean to say. Normally, if you go for European countries, so they will use euro as a one of the currency, as well as they also have local currencies. Local currencies for each country they'll have. But euro is a common currency in European Union, or for the countries that trade in European Union in Europe. So for that case, using two currencies will be prominent in their business. But generally in India, if it is an Indian legal entity, we mostly deal with Indian currency only. Only Indian currency transaction will post. Sometimes, if we might have any foreign currency transactions, we will post them. Or some people will also have regular foreign trade. In that case, they will also use foreign currencies, which are already available here. So as I mean to say is nothing to add, like all the currencies are available. If at all a currency is not available, if at all anything is missing, you can add it here by clicking on you can add a currency. Just click on you and give the name. Mostly it will say, go for the available currencies only. Also, you can also give a name for it. Sometimes people will create some unexisting currencies, like there will be some kind of currencies like bitcoins. So Bitcoin is not a currency, but still some people, if they want to trade in it, they might create a kind of currency code here. Like I will do it, BITC. Okay. So and I can give it here. So actually, it's not saying it's not available, but you can do it normally. You can configure it. The customized code for a currency, if at all if required. It's very rare. Not most of them will do such kind of currencies or define any such kind of codes, but still you can do that. I mean to say. So nobody will ask anything regarding this creation of currencies, and also it's really not needed topic. But when I come back to the currencies point, within this you have to understand few things here in this menu. These are also not important for interview purpose. I mean this rules and all, but for support and for implementation purpose, I think these rounding rules are really important. I'll explain you what these rounding rules and what is this currency gender and all. Let me go for the Indian currency, so it would be prominent for you.
Yeah, here, we are, yeah, I'm interrupting you here. Like, if we are working for the Sweden project, like if a project, my client is in Sweden, and their currency, like as we we spoken yesterday regarding this, like accounting currency and the reporting currency. Here, the accounting currency will be the Sweden Sweden currency, and the reporting will be the European currency or something like that.
Okay. Did they told you?
No, no. In general, I'm asking. Like, I'm seeing if I'm working for the European project, I'm asking. Like, my project will relate to Europe, but here, like, it will comes to both the picture, right? Both the European currency and the Sweden currency varies, right?
Yes. So I told you how generally clients will configure it yesterday. So it's all about client requirement. If client wants accounting currency to be Swedish krona, they will go for Swedish krona as the accounting currency. And if they want reporting currency to be euro, they will go for reporting currency as euro. And if they have their main office in US and they want reporting currency as US dollar, they will maintain US dollar. Okay, they will maintain US dollar only as reporting currency if they want it. No, if they don't want it as US dollar and want it only euro, they can maintain euro. Anything possible. Okay.
Okay.
And if accounting currency has to be euro rather than Swedish krona, they can go for it as well. So you can only maintain two currencies here, right?
Yes.
So either accounting and reporting. So there is no place for the third currency again. So you can maintain accounts in any of the two currencies that client recommends. Got it, Sidhu?
Yes, got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And for currencies, I see there were four menus here: currency converter, rounding rules, currency gender, and electronic invoices. This currency converter I'm not explaining because this is no more a feature available. So this is a old version of Dynamics. So in this is available actually. This was used for some third-party currency converters or converting the amounts from one currency to other currency. But now we have already there is a mechanism that automatically shows up the exchange rates that were already configured and converts the amount that you have given in the journal into the other currency and show up in the journal usually. So this is already removed from Dynamics. I mean, this will be shown, but this is not available. This will be grayed out like this. So leave about this part. We have one of the important thing you see here, rounding rules. So there are different rounding rules for general sales orders, purchase orders, and then prices. Prices are related to item prices or goods prices. And then we have fixed asset depreciation. So for all of them, it generally works in a same manner. I'll explain you how it works. Suppose that these rounding rules are for few transactions. Suppose I'm doing any transaction. So my transaction amount is like 68.54 INR. So 60, generally I'm saying INR in INR. Okay, INR 68.54, 68 rupees 54 pice. Okay, I always want to round it off to the next number all the time. You understand? I always want it to round it off to the round it off to 10 cents, which means whatever is the next 10 0. So it has to be rounded off to that 10 cents. Most of the times I want it. So I don't want this last decimal to be displayed. Suppose if it is 68.54, it should be shown up as 68.60. That 6 cents or 6 spices should be covered up in any transaction that I do. We're using INR. So that's the condition I am giving to system. So why we give it here means, so it is the main page or it is this main page or the conversion page wherein whenever you apply this currency to any transaction, for every transaction you apply INR, right? Mostly. So every time it will convert the number into the next rounding number. Suppose if I give 10 paise here, it's was given as 1, I'll change it back to 10. So whenever there is a transaction like this 68.53, so it will change to either 50 or 60. So how we system knows either to change it to 50 or 60, it again depends on the rule we give. So if it is less than 5, it will take the next previous number like 50. If it is more than 5, it will take, I mean more than 55, 55 or more than 55, it will take it as 60 here. If it is less than 55, it will take as 50 here. So it will round up to the next 10 cents or next decimal with 10. I mean next number with 10. 10 decimal number, sorry. That's here. So same here we have something called something for sales orders as well. So whenever we do any sales order, whenever we create any sales order, if we give something in the lines, so that amount will be adjusted to 10 cents. So how it should be adjusted? Normal, downward, or rounding up. Normal means, as I explained you previously, if it is less than 5, or if it is less than 55, it will be rounding up to 50. Suppose 50, 51, 52, 53 like that. So it will round up to 50. Normal method. So if it is 55 or more than 55, it will round up to 60. Or if it is something like so the 57, so now to which number it will round up in normal method?
60.
So it will
60.
round up to
60.
68.60.
68.60.
This is one way, normal method. So if I said downward method, regardless of what is the number here, it will always go for downward rounding only. So if it is 57 also, it will go for 50 only. If it is 59 also, it will go for 50 only, because we are using downward method. So downward means it will round up to the downward number rather than to the upward number. In the same manner, we have rounding up. Rounding up means regardless of whatever is the decimal here. So like if it is 52 also, it will round up to 60 automatically. So it works in three different ways: normal, downward, and up. Rounding downward and rounding up. Most of them will not follow this. Definitely not follow this. But there might be some clients who might require this, or you at least have to understand how it functions. So I'm explaining you this. So in the same way for purchase order transactions, how the system should work or how the rounding has to be calculated accordingly. Sometimes what they do is for purchase orders, they will give downward rounding, which means the payment that we have to do will get decreased by almost, and we'll always get downward rounding means we'll get some margin of profit, or there will be some less amount calculated that we have to pay. So for sales order, they will give upward rounding, which means it will round up to the next number, right? Or next 10 decimals. Then what happens? We'll slightly get more profits, or we have to receive more money from the customers, or we'll charge customers with more money.
But I have one question, Prakash.
Please, Balam, ask.
From our end, this figure is fine, but at least the purchaser should be having that kind of, they should be reciprocating our requirement, right? The price.
Well, that again depends. So if you if if you decide to pay like 54 cents and if you send an invoice for 60.60 cents, so nobody will mind that 6 cents. They'll find it is a rounding change only. Sometimes they can be very particular maybe, but it is usual in business happens.
Acha, acha, acha. Then it
The
is fine.
roundings.
So it's already, I mean, unsaidly, it is understood. I mean, without spoken, isn't it?
Actually, this is not for profit sake or anything, but
Mm.
to maintain your numbers in rounding numbers rather than in decimals all the time. Every time you record any transaction in this, it will be rounded either to the previous number or to the next number. So the decimals will be rounded to zero set finally. You don't have point 0.04 0.01 decimals again. I mean, you don't have 0.01 decimals. It will be stopped until here only, like 0.50 or 0.60, like that. So everything will be rounded to zero at the end. For that sake only they will use this. Okay. So much profit they might earn in this margins and all. If it is a very huge business, they can earn in this 10 cents. But uh, just saying it as a trick. Sometimes they use it. So I'll just change it back to normal again. In the same way, for pricing we have almost four decimals. Usually this we only have two decimals, right? For pricing we have four decimals. It's because prices can be in fractions also. Sometimes an item that is available in US can be in one US dollar, so which is like 78 rupees here in India. Suppose if a good that is bought by American from India, so which is of 1 rupee, it will be in fractions only, right? When they compare it to dollars, it will be something like 0.00 something. Like if I would say it here, INR to USD. So 1 INR is 0.013. So if they are buying anything which is valued to 1 rupee here from India, so they might have to pay 0.013 US dollars. So for that case, prices will be sometimes put down very low. I mean up to four fractions. That's all. So again, you have these methods rounding upward, downward, anything you can use. Same way for fixed asset depreciation calculation, you can give any cents you want. Sometimes people also give 1 rupee here. So what happens if I give 1 rupee here? Any idea? If my amount is 68.52 and it is a normal method, and to which number it will be rounded to if I give 1 rupee there? One rupee, I said 1 rupee. Anybody?
69.
Exactly 69. If it is 68.52 crossing half rupee, so it will be 69. I mean the rounding will be up to 69 since I gave here as 1 rupee. In the same way, if I give rounding, I mean downwards means what happens? It will round to 68. If I give upwards means it will always round to 69. Got it? So it will not have paise calculation anymore or cents calculation anymore. It always have the original rupee amount, only 68 or 69 or 70 or 71 like that. Always it rounds off. So not they don't go for that big margin. So rupee is a big margin in India if I can, but dollars are very big margin in US if they would do that. So let's get limited with 10 cents. Understood this example?
But Jayprakash, there is also something called as in supermarkets, we always see 99.99, something like that.
You will
Prices
see it.
will be
If you don't have to maintain anything, you can keep it as 0 0.
as
Normally, everybody will follow 0 0 only. Very
mm,
rarely clients will follow this kind of rounding rules.
okay.
Very rarely. If they want to record their every transaction to up to the nearest rounding number, so they will
Mhm.
follow this kind of things rather than recording in decimals. If they want to record it like this, they will follow. Or else they'll keep everything as 0 0 only. Not compulsory.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Use like in terms of auditing, it will be easy or like how?
Maybe for reporting, maybe for auditing, maybe for managing the numbers, accounts, anything.
Thank
So don't stress much, but just understand this. That's all.
you. Sure,
There,
sure.
there is another currency. I'll show you. So I'll go for
Jay,
Japanese.
I have a question here.
Yes, please.
జై సపోజ్ ఇన్వాయిస్ అమౌంట్ వచ్చేసి ఒక ₹1000 ఉందనుకో ఈ రౌండింగ్ ఆఫ్ వల్ల సపోజ్ మనం పేమెంట్ చేయాల్సిన ₹1001 అయిందనుకో సో ఆ సెటిల్మెంట్ ఎట్లా జరుగుతుంది ఆ డిఫరెన్స్ ఉన్న అమౌంట్ తో
1001K అవుతుంది. ఇన్వాయిస్ ఎప్పుడైనా ఇన్వాయిస్ పోస్ట్ అయిందంటే ఇన్వాయిస్ రౌండ్ ఆఫ్ అయి పోస్ట్ అవుతుంది ఖచ్చితంగా అమౌంట్ 1001 అనే పోస్ట్ అవుతుంది అండ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు పే 1001 టు మేక్ దట్ పేమెంట్.
బట్ అప్పుడు ఇన్వాయిస్ మ్యాచ్ అవుతుంది కదా దీంతో
అవుతుంది చెప్పిన ఈ రూల్ ఉంటే ఇన్వాయిస్ పోస్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఇన్వాయిస్ అమౌంట్ 1001కి ఆల్రెడీ రౌండ్ అయిపోతుంది.
ఓకే ఓకే ఓకే
ఓకే పోస్ట్ అయిన ఇన్వాయిస్ 1001కే చూపిస్తుంది ఖచ్చితంగా అండ్ పేమెంట్ కూడా ఆ అమౌంట్కే చేయాలి.
ఓకే
ఇన్వాయిస్ దాకా ఎందుకు ఇది పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్లోనే రౌండ్ అయిపోతుంది ఆటోమేటిక్గా.
ఓకే
ఓకే పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్ నెక్స్ట్ లెవెల్ కదా ఇన్వాయిస్. సో పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్లోనే రౌండ్ ఆఫ్ అయిపోతుంది. ఇన్వాయిస్కి వచ్చేసరికి కంబైన్డ్ రౌండ్ ఆఫ్ అయిపోయిన అమౌంటే వస్తుంది ఆల్మోస్ట్.
ఓకే
విల్ సీ దట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అక్కడ దాకా వచ్చినప్పుడు చూద్దాం ఒకసారి. ఓకే so here I have one more currency called Japanese yen, as you can see. So it's a Japan currency. There are certain currencies like Japanese yen where the rounding does not get less than 1. If in India you see normally less than rupee we have calculation called as paise. Same way in US dollar we have less than dollar we have something called as cents. The decimal numbers or decimal currency numbers used to be called as paise or cents or some other names in different countries. They have different names, but in such there are certain currencies which are called no denomination currency, sorry, not no decimal currency or non-decimal currencies, which does not have anything less than 1. So if we go for Japan, there will be no number less than one Japanese yen, no cents or no paise like that. So for them the rounding rule will be mostly 1, or either it will be 1 or 0. Okay, it won't be less than 1, or like you can't give 0.10 0.50 like that. Only for pricing it will allow, but for here you can't give that. It should be 1 or it should be 0. That's all, or it should not be less than 1, I think so. So these are non-decimal currencies. There are certain currencies like this. I think pound is also one such currency which doesn't support the decimals. So for that, if they want to give rounding rule, they'll give it like this 111 and all. So if there is any transaction like 68.52, it will definitely round up to 69. In every transaction, it will round up. It will round off all the time. It will round off. Mostly for local transactions, they don't have this decimals reported, but for foreign transactions, they will have, according to the exchange rates, it will divide, right? So sometimes they will have this, and that will automatically get rounded off to the next number or to the previous number according to the methods you give here, or the rounding methods you give select here. I hope you understood this point. I mean, how different is this currency from other? Anyone have any doubts, or you want me to explain once again this one? Okay.
Shall I explain once again?
No, sure. So as I was saying, in Indian rupee, we usually have 68 and 52 decimals. So if we what usually we call it as 58 rupees and 68 rupees and 52 paise. Same in US dollar, if we want to call it, we can call it as $68 and 52 cents or pennies, what they will call in US I mean, according to the US terminology. But same in Japan, we don't have anything after decimals. So we only call it as 68 yen, but this 0.52 is not, doesn't have any name or really doesn't have any value or meaning in Japanese currency. So either it should be 68 or it should be 69. The decimals are not counted or not calculated. So for that purpose, the rounding will always be 1, such that either it will be rounded to 68 or to 69. These kind of decimals will not exist in any transaction. That's what I'm saying previously. Understood enough?
Yes.
Okay. All right. There were such few such currencies, okay, which were called as non-decimal currencies, I think. So that's with these rounding rules. So it's not. Anyone have any other doubt in this rounding rules?
No, JP. It's clear.
Okay.
Actually, we are having JP and RWD, like that. Few more currencies are there, wherein they only allow decimals in pricing. Rest all details
Yes.
remains the same, and they won't, because those are no cents market, wherein cents column will not be because of their
Exactly.
price, because of their pricing issues and all, and their currency values will also be very high. For that purpose only, they won't allow cents.
Exactly. That's what I said. I mean, non-decimal or without any cents currencies. So only for pricing, as I told you, it is available here. You can see. For
Yes,
remaining, we
JP.
don't see it. Thanks, Yeshu. Thanks for adding that point. And apart from this currency menu, we have this currency gender. So this is specially for currency gender, especially for uh, Spanish currencies only. So in Spain, we have currency gender for currency. Same currency will have masculine gender and feminine gender, like male and female genders. So this is mostly used for printing of checks and non-negotiable instruments in only in Spain. Okay. So this currency gender will be helpful to select it. I mean, whatever the language that you select for printing such documents, it will be there. You can Google more about currency gender actually. So depending on the currency gender, again the units or the pricing might change. So nothing much to stress on this currency gender. So it is only for Spanish country, as I said, and it is only for some check printing and for non-negotiable instruments like promissory notes and bills of exchange printing. To print on that, they will use this masculine or feminine. What is should be the gender of the currency? That's all. But it's not related to any other currencies. So it's a useless column in other currencies. It's only for, as I told you, it's only for the Spanish currency. For electronic invoicing, we can see the exchange rate variation limit. In case if you are using any electronic invoicing method, which is an integration. So in that case, if there is any variation limit, how much variation can you allow for your transaction to the invoice amount? So I can say like 10 cents. If there is 10 cents variance also, invoice will be accepted or invoice can be agreed. So for Japanese yen, we don't have 10, right? Usually either it will be 0 or 1. So if there is one Japanese yen variation also, I can accept the invoice, or system should not reject the electronic invoicing process, saying that the amounts are not mismatched. So sorry, amounts are mismatched. So if it is one yen variance also, it will agree. The same way with INR. Okay, this is also not mostly used by any of them. The electronic invoicing process very rare, but this field controls that kind of matching policies for electronic invoicing. If there is a variation limit, system will not agree that invoice to be brought into the system. For INR again, I clicked here. I can change it to one INR, saying that there is 1 rupee variance also. System can agree that invoice. So the remaining rest all will be matching, means the vendor account, the details will match. However, that 1 rupee variance will be agreed by system. So I can say it like this here if I want. If not, I'll keep it as 0, 0 like usual. That's all. So this is with the menu in currency. For every currency, you have the same menu and same rules or same things. But the most important will be this one only, and this is also not and this is also not commonly used. Very rarely people use this rounding rules in currencies, but sometimes when you might face any error messages related to these roundings, you might have to come back here and check in support cases or in normal in support projects if you face any issues regarding rounding. So there are other setups also for rounding. I'll explain you that too. But keep this in mind. That's all with this currencies, and we have all the currencies available. So next topic we'll learn about how to configure exchange rate between two currencies. How to group a set of currencies for exchange rates and all. We'll see. So first we have discussed currencies today. The next topic will be exchange rate types. I'll go for exchange rate types. Okay. So here in currencies, I have in general ledger only. I'm in currencies menu. I see here exchange rate types just above currencies. This topic. So before we configure the exchange rates between two currencies, first let us discuss this exchange rate types. Okay. So it's again general ledger, currencies and exchange rate types. If I click here on exchange rate types, I can see different names. So ABCD exchange rates, ADS exchange rates, daily exchange rates, demo company exchange rates. So you can also create an exchange rate by your company name like MRF exchange rate. So what are the exchange rates you use, or what are the different currencies that you use for exchange, configure the exchange rates between two different currencies. So you can pair up all those currencies in that exchange rate type. For your legal entity specifically, you can pair up exchange rates in that. Like I'll give MRF, it's just a group name. MRF. So MRF group, I'll say. Just a group name I'll give. So within this group name, I can configure exchange rate. Suppose if I click here on exchange rates on the top of group that I have created, I don't see anything because we just created that group. We don't have any exchange rates already in this. We have to create one by one. So that will be our next topic, how to create one by one exchange rates. So in that way, you can group a set of currencies. I mean, group a set of currencies for exchange rates within this MRF group. Sometimes what people do is within a legal entity, they will have multiple groups. So one with the name of daily exchange rate. Suppose in this, what happens is they'll bring in the exchange rates on daily basis. And they also have average exchange rates. So this average exchange rate, what they have is they'll calculate monthly average exchange rates between the currencies. So this they will use for some reporting purposes or to average the sales and purchase amounts within a month to a single average currency amount. I mean, the foreign trade will be averaged to a single exchange rate rather than using 30 exchange rates each for every day. They will use a single average exchange rate divided by 30 low. You will have plus and minus divided by 30 average exchange rate. So they will use that average exchange rate for certain purposes. The same way you have budget exchange rates. Normally, your budget will be futuristic, right? So you prepare budgets keeping in view your future expenses and future revenues. So the exchange rates will also be little futuristic, or they will use future exchange rate by assuming some exchange rates. So this exchange rate would be like this in future. Maybe they might be correct or wrong, but they will have assumed exchange rates for budget exchange rates normally. So in that way, they can group the exchange rates. So you can create the same currency link, but exchange rates will differ from group to group. So in daily exchange rates, you will find today's exchange rate. In average exchange rate, you will find average exchange rate of that two currencies for that particular month or for that particular week, however you want or however the client wants. In budget, again, you will have budget exchange rates or the futuristic prices or the exchange rates that are assumed and written down. So you can maintain the same pair of currencies. I mean, from US dollar to INR only. Here there will be one exchange rate. It's a today's exchange rate. Here it will be average exchange rate. Here there will be another exchange rate, which will be the future exchange rate sometimes. So you can maintain as many as you want. For import purpose, you can maintain a separate group of exchange rates. For export purpose, you can maintain separate group of exchange rates. Or you can also maintain monthly basis exchange rate sometimes. It all depends on what is client's requirement, that's all. But in our example, I have created a group called like exchange. I have created an exchange rate type called as MSD exchange rates or MSD group, I can say. Sorry, not MSD, MRF group. I'm sorry for that. I've created MRF and MRF group, and within this I'll configure the exchange rates. So to configure the exchange rates in this group, I can click here and go for exchange rates here, and I can create one by one. See, I don't have any, but I can create one by clicking on new and all. Or else there is another menu, even it will take me to the same page, same exchange rates page for MRF group. So here we select the group here and click on exchange rates, right? There we will navigate to exchange rates and select the group like this. Same page, almost the same page. I'll show you how. So any confusion in this? In group creation, it's normally a group. You just give a name and description, that's all. Type and description, that's all. And calendar, nobody uses calendar. You can also give any calendar for this, but you have to configure the currency calendars again. So you will basically create a calendar, give a calendar name and then select a base calendar or configure the base calendar or give it like this, but it's very complex or not needed for currency exchange rates. So this is with currency exchange rate type creation. Next step we'll go here just above currency exchange rate types. We have currency exchange rates. This one will configure this currency exchange rates. So if I go here to currency exchange rates, it's again in general ledger, currencies and currency exchange rates. So I am here. MRF exchange rate type is here, or if you want to choose anything else, you can choose like this. So if you go for budget, you can choose budget exchange rates. If I go again back to MRF, I can see my MRF. I don't have any currencies in my MRF. So this is important now, what we will discuss, how to configure exchange rates between two currencies in a company. So here I'll click on new. You can see here. So it is asking me two currencies. From which currency to which currency you want to configure exchange rates. So from US dollar to INR, I want to configure exchange rate. So the conversion factor will be 1. So I'll come back to this point of conversion factor to explain. So now we have trying to define an exchange rate between US dollar to INR. So okay, I can select a date from which date to which date I want to define these exchange rates. I can say like from 1st January. Anyway, it will change. I'll show you how this works. So here I want to add a exchange rate for 1st January. Suppose I'm clicking on add here. Select the date. Which date you want? 1st January. I'm selecting 1st January. What is the exchange rate between US dollar to INR? So I used to get 75 Indian rupees for 1 US dollar. So I gave 75 here. Okay, this is how we can give exchange rate for a specific date. Suppose I want to add an exchange rate for today's date, which is 20th. So I'll go here, go for 20th or click on today here in the calendar. That whenever it opens, if I click here on this, it will open the calendar. If I click today, it will select today's date. Okay. So exchange rate for today, I can check for exchange rate for today normally here. US dollar to INR 74.60 Indian rupee for 1 US dollar. So I'll go back here. I'll give 74.60 Indian rupees for 1 US dollar. Right? For tomorrow, I can give one more by adding on. Let's give tomorrow's date like 21. Tomorrow, if it changes back to 74 only or 74.30, I can give 74.30. So this is how we can give. So whenever I do any transaction on this particular day, if my accounting currency is US dollar, suppose, so I'll give an example. My accounting currency is US dollar, and I'm doing a transaction with in Indian rupee. Okay, I'm doing a can I say that if I do a transaction in Indian rupee like 10,000 rupees transaction, so it will automatically get converted into US dollar. Since we have defined an exchange rate here between US dollar and INR, so what happens is, so if I get 10,000 INR here, so it is 133.96, right? So it will automatically record the transaction in US dollar as well. If we do foreign trading, so look from the perspective of US company, if we are doing a transaction in US, I mean Indian rupee, which is a foreign currency for US company. So in that case, the amount will automatically get exchanged for 133.96 US dollars since we have defined an exchange rate here. So if we do a transaction today, it will work like this. If we do a transaction on 21st, so it will go for this exchange rate. The same way if we do a transaction on the later date, so according to that particular date, the exchange rate will pick up. So what happens if we don't have any exchange rate on that particular day? Suppose we are doing 22nd transaction on 22nd, and we don't have any exchange rate on 22nd defined here. So what does system consider? System considers the very latest exchange rate, whatever is there. 21 is there, right? So it will consider the exchange rate of 21 only for 22 as well. Suppose I'm adding an exchange rate for 24th this time. For 24th, I'm adding exchange rate like 76, 76.20 something. We'll refresh this here. So now for on 21st, system will use this exchange rate. On 22nd, 23rd also system will use the same exchange rate. Whatever is the latest and latest previous one, system will use that one. Coming back to 24th of July, system will use this exchange rate, whatever we have given here or whatever is available. So if it is not available, then system will take same exchange rate, the very previous exchange rate. So that's how this mechanism works in. I mean to say that that's how this mechanism works in exchange rates, or this system will consider the exchange rates from.
JP.
Yes, Seshu.
Yeah, if in this case, if you are posting a past dated trade, sorry,
Okay.
past dated transaction,
Mm-hmm.
wherein there is no predefined exchange rate in the system.
Okay.
There is no predefined rate in exchange rate in the system. Means we had not given any instruction for that.
Okay.
For that, what would be the situation? Means the price is varying because on that particular day, the price is around, the exchange rate is around 73, and but
Okay.
as per the latest it is around 76.2.
Okay.
So in this situation, what would be the case?
So in that situation, system will not allow you to post the transaction, saying that there is no defined exchange rate between those two currencies on that particular date of transaction. Okay. You have to come here and give a transaction amount for those two currencies such that the system will consider that exchange rate, right? Or else while creating journal, there is another option where you can give certain exchange rate for that particular day there only, rather than coming here and configuring the exchange rate between two currencies. You can usually give the exchange rate there itself in the journal itself, so that system will consider exchange rate from there itself in the for that particular journal. Okay.
Okay, fine.
I'll show you that too. Once we commit to the place where we can post the transaction, I'll show you that how it works.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So this from date and to date generally shows the view here. So if I would change this from date to June here, suppose, and refresh this. So usually it should hide this one, and it shows only these three. It generally hides, that's all. Again, if we change back to the date to January, again it will show them all. So in order to limit the view here, we have this from and day to day exchange rates. Suppose if you want to see the exchange rates for only for month of June, means you can So for only the month of July means you can say from 1st of July to 31st of July. So that all the 30 exchange rates will show up here. If at all there were 30, it will show up here. Most commonly, if they have active trade between two currencies, suppose my company is located in India, and I'm doing active transactions on daily basis with all the foreign countries like US and European countries. Suppose I'll configure the exchange rates between Indian rupee and US dollar and Indian rupee and euro on daily basis. The exchange rates I'll enter on daily basis. But if I don't have regular trade, mostly they will do it for weekly basis or monthly basis. On the starting of month, they will give one exchange rate, and for that whole month, they will use the same exchange rate, regardless of how the how the exchange rate varies from day to day. They don't mind the day to day changes. They will commonly use one exchange rate for that whole month. That's all, because it's very minor trade, right? Or they'll try to change the exchange rate or create an exchange rate for that particular day if at all they have to do a foreign transaction on that day. But if there are regular transactions, you have to update them on daily basis, and it's not possible to manually update on daily basis, right? So we have another way of importing exchange rates on daily basis. I'll show you how it works. But this is how we configure exchange rate between one currency to other currency. So I'll also do another. I'll give another example. I'll go for euro to INR. So the conversion factor is 1 only. I'll add here. So for 1st of July to 31st of July it is taking. So this days doesn't matter actually. Whatever you give here is that does matters. So for today's date, I'm giving an exchange rate. So what is an exchange rate for euro to INR today? Euro to INR is 87.75 Indian rupee for 1 euro. So I'll go back and give the same 87.75 INR for 1 euro. You can see it clearly. It's 87.75 INR for 1 euro. Mostly whatever is the biggest currency, they'll keep it in the front. I mean, US dollar is bigger than Indian rupee, right? So they'll keep US dollar front. Euro is bigger than INR, right? So they'll keep euro in the front. Suppose if I have to configure for US dollar and euro, since euro will be bigger, I'll keep euro first and then US dollar. It's not mandatory. You can keep anyways, no problem. You can keep either ways. It's not mandatory. So euro to INR, I'll see the exchange rate. Euro to US dollar. What is the exchange rate for today? It's 1.18 US dollars. I'll go here. I'll add this. Select today's date. Select 1.18. So 1.18 US dollar for 1 euro. So that's how you configure exchange rate between two currencies for specific dates. So as I told you again, if at all there are any missing dates and if you have to do a foreign transaction on that particular day, system will usually pick the very previous date. And if you don't have any previous date exchange rates, so you did not create any, system will throw you an error message saying you don't have any active exchange rate between these two currencies for that particular date. You have to give one. So you can either come and create here or you can do it in the journal. We'll see that part later. That's what Sheshu asked previously. But you have to understand how it works. It's clear this part, except this conversion factor. I'll explain you what is this. Clear, guys? All of you, how to configure this? Right. So now I will talk about this conversion factor. So conversion factor, I have 1, 10, 100, 1000 and 10,000. Okay. So usually if I have to create suppose I have to create a transaction between US dollar to Japanese, so I have to create a conversion factor. Okay. So we see here it's 109.88 Japanese yen. So as I told you, 109 Japanese yen exists, but 08888 does not exist. Just that we have a conversion, it is showing as 109.88, but this 88 does not have any value. So in that cases, what they will do is they will try to multiply it with 100 to show it as for every $100 you will get 109.88, say 10,988 Japanese yen. So I'll show you how. So I want to create an exchange rate between US dollar to Japanese yen. So I'll create US dollar here. And Can you please mute? Somebody's unmuting and I can hear the sound. I think it's with Sairam. Okay, muted him. So US dollar and Japanese yen. So what I'll do, I'll just add it here. I'll keep a start date, today's date. How much is the amount? 109.88. So 109.88 Japanese yen for 1 US dollar, right? But when I see it like this, I feel like 109.88 does not exist, or there won't be anything like 88 in Japanese yen. So it should have a specific number. So what I will do is I'll change this conversion factor from 1 to 100. So how it will show then is, you can see here, it shows for 100 US dollar. For 100 US dollar, the exchange rate is like, I mean, you will get 10,998 Japanese yen. Just to remove that fractions or take them ahead of that point, we will multiply both the currencies with 100. So this conversion factor will work in that way. So you'll have 1 or 10 or 100 or 10,000, anything like this. But regardless of whatever the conversion factor you use, the exchange rate will be the same. Whenever you do any transaction, the exchange rate will be the same. Nothing changes. And this is also helpful in certain currencies where which is having lot of difference in amount. Suppose if I go for, usually I will go for US dollar to Zimbabwe dollar, or okay, Zimbabwe dollar only, I think so. Yeah, one US dollar will get something like 361.9 Zimbabwe dollar. For 1 US dollar, you will get 361.9 Zimbabwe dollar. In the same case, if I want to see an exchange rate between Zimbabwe dollar to US dollar, see here, it is showing up like 1 Zimbabwe dollar is equal to 0.00276319 US dollar. But 0.00276319 US dollar does not exist. So this exchange rate will look fair, but to understand the US dollar, this amount of US dollar does not exist to pay or to have. So if at all I'm configuring such kind of exchange rates here, suppose Zimbabwe dollar to US dollar here, and I'm adding it. I'm starting today's date. So this is the exchange rate, right? Zimbabwe dollar to US dollar. I'm copying this exchange rate. I just come here and keep the exchange rate here. See, it is showing as 0.027631 US dollar for 1 Zimbabwe dollar. For exchange rate purpose, for calculation purpose, it works fair when whatever you select. But just for looking purpose, you see this looks odd, or this US dollar does not exist at all. I mean, this kind of fraction US dollar does not exist. So for that purpose, we can change the conversion factor back to 10,000. So we can see it here, like for 10,000 Zimbabwe dollars, you will see 27.63 US dollars, which means at least 27.63 sounds like fair. 27.63 US dollars is an amount that can be calculative enough, or which exists. But 0.0023 US dollars, it's an amount that does not exist, or which is almost equal to zero in terms of American market. So in that case, we use this conversion factor usually. It does not change anything, just the look of how exchange rate reflect here, or how this view looks, the multiples, the number multiples will show up, that's all. But the exchange rate will remain the same. If I do any transaction for 100 US dollars, it will again show, like, I mean, normally for 100 US dollars, how much we are getting. So, sorry, for 100 Zimbabwe dollars, if you do any transaction, it will show up for this 0.27 US dollars only. Although 0.27 US dollars is a very minute amount, but system will agree that. So regardless of whatever the conversion factor you select here, the exchange rates will work in the same way. Whatever is there, it will work in the same way. So this is exchange rate conversion factors are only to maintain them, or to regulate the decimals, or for the view purpose only. Whoever come and access this page, so the view will help them to understand like this, the same way, like here 100 US dollars equal to 10,988 Japanese yen. So you can see here conversion factors also shows up. So that's how we configure the exchange rate between two currencies. We can do as many as you want. You can give again GBP to US dollar. If you want to give, you can give. So you can give a currency. What is the rate? GBP to 1.36 US dollars you are getting for 1 GBP. So go back here, give today's date, give 1 point, how much? 36. So 1.36 US dollars for 1 GBP. On daily basis, you can add exchange rates. So for tomorrow, it can be 1.40. Day after tomorrow, it can be like 22, it can be 1.50. So now my question is to Sairam Shankar. So if I'm doing any transaction on 22nd of July, so what exchange rate will system pick? So are you there?
I think he left, Jay.
Okay. So okay. Seshu, which exchange rate system will pick if you do a transaction 22nd of July?
Yeah, it will take 22nd of 22nd, the latest date.
Latest exchange rate. Okay.
Yep.
So I am configuring another exchange rate on 25th of July, and I'm giving it as 1.70. So this question is to Naveen. Naveen, you're in class? Naveen Nani is not talking. Yes. Okay. So if I'm doing any transaction on 23rd of July, so which exchange rate will system pick here in this list of exchange rates? 25th. So Naveen is saying that 25th system will pick the 25th exchange rate. Okay. Anybody else have any other opinion? What exchange rate will?
22nd.
It will be taking the latest, right? As far as what I heard.
Till
No,
25th, they will, I mean, system will take on 22nd only. After the 25th, the system will take a 25th July exchange rate.
exactly. It will pick the previous latest exchange rate as I told. So if we are doing transaction at 23rd, what is the previous latest exchange rate for 23rd existing here? It is 22nd.
22nd.
So it will pick the rate from 22nd. So if I'm doing any transaction on 24th, then
And also 22nd.
so now also it will pick 1.50 only.
Yeah.
So if I do transaction on 25th, again it will pick here from 25th, 1.70.
Yes.
If I'm not creating any exchange rate furthermore here, and if I'm doing any transaction on 27th, then
It will take, it will pick I mean, it will pick 25th day
25th.
exchange rate.
Right. So Naveen understood it enough. So anybody have any confusion again on this?
Yeah, can you please explain again if you don't mind?
No problem. No problem. So I have exchange rate for 22nd here. So if I don't have 23 and 24 here again, I have 25th once again. So if I am doing any transaction for 23rd, system will pick exchange rate from 22nd only. That is the previous latest for 23rd date, right? So it will not go for the next date or the next date. It will go for the previous exchange rate that is already there in the system, previous date's exchange rate. So on 23rd, if I do any, it will pick this exchange rate. On 24th also, if I do any, it will pick the last exchange rate only. What is the last exchange rate? It is 1.50. But it will not go for future exchange rate. It will never go for future exchange rate. If I do any transaction on 25th, since for 25th we have an exchange rate, it will pick 25th exchange rate like 1.70. If I does any transaction for 26 and 27 now, so what is the very previous one for 26 or 27? So it is 25 only existing, right? So it will pick this exchange rate. Understood, Bala? And we still confused?
No, it's okay.
Okay, perfect then. So I think we can end it until here today. So tomorrow we'll see how we can import the exchange rates on daily basis. So there is a one process. I believe it will work in our system. Mostly it doesn't work in demos, but I'll try to demonstrate how it works. As a finance functional consultant, you should have an idea about how exchange rates are being imported into the system, or nobody will explain you that in usual course process, but I want to explain you tomorrow about that one. Later tomorrow we'll discuss some other topic, some other topic related to chart of accounts. So that would be very important. So So tomorrow we'll discuss about importing exchange rates as well as chart of accounts, mostly chart of accounts. Sorry. So practice this until here. If you get any doubts, let me know. So and remember this logic that I have explained. How system will pick the exchange rates.
As someone asked the question, can we create an exchange rate for past dates?
Definitely
Like
yes.
year before, and a year before, or 2 years before. I mean, and a year before transaction.
Surely you can create. So if I add here, I want to create an exchange rate for 2020, something like October 1st, 2020. I can give 1.20. Right, it's done. See, if I refresh this, it will go to the top. The very old one will go to the top.
Okay. Like if after the auditing some transaction, I mean, if you want to post the transaction on particular date, then it will help, right?
Yes, it helps. As I told you, you don't have to come here and create any exchange rate. You can also add it in the journal itself. Whatever the exchange rate that you feel like, you can give it to the condition to the system there, and system will directly add. If it is only for a single journal, you can do. If you want to post multiple journals, then you can create an exchange rate here such that it always system will pick this exchange rate by default. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And that would be all, guys, regarding configuring the exchange rate.
JP.
Yes, sure.
1 second. Further, continuing for this for the question which now
Sushila asked.
Yeah, Sushila asked if the book's period status is completely closed, permanently closed. For that question, in that situation, what would be?
In that situation, you can't post any transaction.
Yeah, in that situation, we can't post any transaction, right? So then it's useless of creating this exchange rate policy and all, right, for that particular period.
For that particular period, yes, you can't post any transaction, but that's all. You can't post any transaction.
Okay, fine.
The period status is permanently closed. There is no, you can't post transaction, right? Then there is no point of creating exchange rate too.
But if in that case, then when we are supposed to post some transaction on that for that particular date.
Yes, I'll tell you that. So then what you can do is you can post transaction for today's date or some other date where the period status is open, but you can give the exchange rate of past.
Okay.
In journal, you can manually change the exchange rate. So system will automatically pick that day's exchange rate. Suppose I want to post in 1st of October 2020, but 1st of October 2020 is permanently closed. I'm posting the transaction in today's date instead. System will pick this exchange rate. So I can manually change this one from 1.36 to 1.20 in the journal.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Fine.
Is that what you're looking for or wondering about? I mean, did I answer your question, Seshu?
Yeah, it's done. It's done. Fine.
Okay. Thank you. And anything else, guys? If there isn't anything else, I'll just stop this recording so that